of different approaches to dealing with the with identifying projects and getting things done. One is to deal with things on a local basis, small basis, but the other is somehow you've got to look at what are the priorities in an individual basin.
Randy Brush, Minnesota City Stormwater Coalition. It's striking that we're going to be moving into a relatively new world of working a lot of money through grant programs or programs that are similar. So people will be putting in applications for projects, research, education, stuff on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. Traditionally, the way that's worked is the applications have gone to the state agencies, Bowser PCA, for instance, on a lot of this stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression has been that the groups that review and score the applications are comprised almost entirely of agency staff. One of the things that we have in Minnesota is of stakeholder participation across the board at multiple levels. I would urge the agencies to include the stakeholders in the grant review process. So there should be people from cities, watershed districts, soil and water conservation districts, the City Engineers Association, a whole variety of groups participating on those grant review committees in meaningful numbers. I think that would do wonders to help with everyone's confidence and trust in the results. I realize there's inherently some potential conflict of interest problems in there, but we've worked that out in other venues in the past. I'm sure we could apply the same principles this time around as well.
Just, yeah, that Randy raises a point, 2 points, I guess. One is, we want to make sure we have the best expertise making the decisions, from whatever perspective they come from. And also the point about transparency is important too, that not only do we need to be able to show, all of you and all of your, clientele and partners how this works, but right down to the level of the citizen, they need to understand that this is an open process, that there's a clear sense that science and good public policy is being used to make decisions, and that there isn't some, if they don't know, then they suspect the worst. I think that's just human nature. So we want to make sure that they understand it very clearly how the decisions are being made and what they're being based on.
Got a programming note here, if I could jump in quick. I'm going to route around a sign up for lunch, meeting at noon. Just put your name down, have the sandwich you want. Sandwich is about $8.
And if we're not staying, we can still order a sandwich and take it and leave?
You can.
Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Zabel, Vermilion River Watershed, Carverus, WCD, Area 4 SWCs. So that not big. None of that. I think it is, yeah. Mark Zabel, Vermilion River Watershed, we'll just go with that. I've got a list of 5, I guess I would call them points or principles that I want to throw out there for your consideration. And some of these are redundant to what you've already said. Any program coming up should support what is identified by local plans and authorities as local priorities. And what Eric was speaking to, I'll hit a little bit later here. It should provide that priorities for funds. The targeting is evaluated in a comprehensive manner, and that gets to the basin as well as statewide or other regional planning. To incorporate multiple valuing approaches. So it's not just the impaired waters, it's not just TMDLs, but it's what is valued locally, regionally, or statewide. It should integrate approaches addressing water issues, so as goes to what you were talking about earlier with coordinating with the Heritage Council, or as Steve was talking about, water flowings. It should require clear accountability. I think that's one of the big expectations of the amendment. We're being given this grand opportunity. We need to be completely accountable, and I think that means separate tracking. for amendment dollars down to the project level. So if you're mixing funds, local funds, or other project initiatives, track the money separately, because the more accountable we are, the more credibility we have, the more likely that our programs are going to be looked at positively and we're going to get more good things. And then the last one is it should use and leverage existing delivery systems, and I think at least Bowser is probably on top of this one as one of their main priorities, since you guys are the pass-through to most local units. We can enhance other funding sources where those are eligible for the same project. So those, I hope you will consider those.
Got them all written down, Mark. One of the things I would like to just highlight out of your comments was the thing about separate tracking of the dollars. 25 years from now, this Constitution goes away, and if it's going to be renewed, it's going to need a compelling 5 years, is that the leveraging was pretty valuable. I think this state is going to be immensely well positioned to hoover up a lot of Farm Bill conservation dollars that other states will have a lot tougher time doing as they go through their own budget crises. And we've seen that already, like with the Wetland Reserve Program, how we've been able to tie that up with RIM dollars here in the state. Federal NRCS is sending more and more money to the state for that purpose because they can't bind up those dollars in other states right now.
I have a comment online from John Rochline. John, go ahead.
There, can you hear me now?
Yep, now we can hear you. Thanks.
All right, in the Red River Valley, watershed districts are working on larger scale multi-purpose projects with flood damage reduction and natural resource enhancements being incorporated into the same projects. I'd like to suggest that some of this dedicated funding be provided to fund those NRE features of these projects that we do out here, since that's probably the hardest type of money to come by when we're putting these projects together and trying to strike that balance. I'd even like to suggest going as far as having an amount dedicated to the organization that we call the Flood Damage Reduction Work Group to be distributed by them. They're the group that monitor our mediation agreement out here, which dictates we try to strike this balance. And I think they've got a fairly good process set up for distribution of that funding and an accountability process as well. Thank you.
Okay, I was listening to the discussion about distribution of funds and thinking about all the grant applications we're going to have to complete and file. I mean, we've got 5 impaired lakes, a couple of impaired streams. We're doing our TMDL studies on our own dime right now. We're going to be at a point in our district where we've got, anywhere from 3 to 5 active TMDL implementation programs.